Hello everyone, this is Peter the Warner Bros. Universal and Paramount fan 2002 here. Today, this talk will be about seasonal rot. And seasonal rot was a thing that make the show's downfall and flanderize the characters. For starters, seasonal rot is a phrase used for any long-running franchise that experiences a gradual drop in quality after several seasons, to either later becoming bad or not as good as originally and before. Even though the show can still make good episodes and stories, even if they are gone from grace, or just not make as many good episodes and make more duds, bad episodes and stories as possible. This trope has become more common since the 2010s. There are many great shows now and again. However, if a show runs long enough, seasonal rot always sets in, and writers should always think of the right moment to either end the show, good way or bad way, or bring it back on track while it's still good, or the show can just start a new writing team to improve the series and make everything better in the future. Sometimes it's a temporary dip from which the series recovers by bringing in new writers, ones that either hardly know anything about the source material at all, or are very bad, or choosing by ignoring all of the past events of the inferior or best seasons. Other times, it can be irreversible and grows with each new season at the point when the series has jumped the shark or lost its charm. This can include the flanderization of really lovable characters, characters becoming out of character, making a few or a heckload of filler, bad episodes, and animation changes, even though the animation would still be good, but could also turn ugly. Come up with really stupid and inexcusable plots, take gross-out jokes gone wrong, make the characters take a step too far, make episodes that don't even try, drag on everything for far too long, overuse the unfunny, poor comedy and jokes, make up poor attempts to go in a new direction and declining production values, throw in the three-strike formulas used in every episode to make it as bad as possible, make the characters never learn their lesson, and also make the episodes use the same story repeated every episode. There are some ways to avoid, or end cancellation, seasonal rot. One way is to temporarily postpone the series and come up with more ideas at a slow pace, keep the show as fresh and strong as possible, or just come up with new inspirations. Making a seasonal rot worse is if the creator of the show is still heavily involved. Now, here are the notable offenders of a seasonal rot. Number 1. The Simpsons. Don't get me wrong, The Simpsons is one of my favorite Fox animated shows since I first saw this show back then as a young kid. The one that started this trope, although not always as bad as Family Guy and South Park, it's still hit or miss with most of the cast becoming flanderized and more gross-out humor. However, seasons 11-20 are the least bad out of all, and the show got back on track since season 32. Especially 20th Century Fox, the company that produced the show, was acquired by Disney and renamed to 20th Century Studios. And I'm sure its sequel of The Simpsons movie would be good and the same thing as the first one. Despite flanderization, I can watch it to this day. Number 2. Family Guy. Oh boy, another flanderization of a good Fox animated show, also known as the king of seasonal rots and one of the worst cases of seasonal rot ruining a formerly good show. The show went massively downhill since season 8's Peter Asment and has not recovered due to heavy flanderization, terrible and hurtful morals, tons of mean-spirited moments, overuse of even more cutaway gags that are not funny anymore, and gross-out humor. In addition, in desperate and shallow ratings grab, the show killed off Brian in Life of Brian only to bring him back 3 weeks later in Christmas Guy. Another thing that confused me is that Fox announced that it will move Family Guy to mid-season just to make enough space for their animation domination block. Fox has done this since fall 2005. But hey, Christmas special of Family Guy will coming this holiday season to stream on Hulu. And even Family Guy also recently moved to Comedy Central. Number 3. South Park. Holy shit, how does my favorite show on Comedy Central was ruined? The most controversial seasons, such as season 20 and 23 onwards, make it a cash cow to Comedy Central. The show not only flanderizes the characters but also adds more mean-spirited moments and overuses of even more inappropriate humor than the previous seasons. This is noticeable in season 23 onwards, when Randy Marsh gets way too much screen time than the main boys. such as Stan Marsh, Kyle Broflovsky, and Kenny McCormick. These seasons are also polarizing, as after the Tegrity Weed plot, this is a sure sign that the show is now going through the same fate as The Simpsons and Family Guy, and the main boys have hardly, if ever, recovered from their Flanderizations. It is also announced that in 2024, there would be no new episodes until at least 2025. I know that it was Flanderized, but I can't let this show go. Number 4, The Fairly Odd Parents. Oh boy, a Flanderization of my second favorite show on Nickelodeon. It completely ran out of ideas altogether, became filled to the brim with bad episodes, completely abandoned continuity, suffered from lazier, generic, and unoriginal writing primarily because of it often rehashing older plots, and the characters themselves have all either been dumbed down to their stereotypes or demoted to extras. Aside from all that, Season 9 introduced a pointless new main character, Sparky, but due to negative reception, he was removed in Season 10, only to be replaced with yet another new main character, Chloe Carmichael, who was even worse. The show's budget was also slashed, forcing Frederator to switch animation studios from South Korea to Canada. This saw the shift to low-quality flash animation in the last 7 episodes of Season 10. Overall, the failure of these seasons was a result of executive meddling and the declining talent among the writing team. Even series creator Butch Hartman himself ended up getting the series cancelled. The reboot was no better than the original. Number 5, SpongeBob SquarePants. Holy shit, who could have done such a thing like that? There was a massive amount of Flanderization for most of the characters, and the characters became more and more mean-spirited. The animation became cheaper with a duller color palette and there was much more gross-out humor compared to the first 5 seasons. Luckily since Season 9, the show got back on track and got improved. Number 6, The Loud House. Seriously? A Flanderization of my another favorite show on Nickelodeon. Wow, why am I not surprised? Season 4 to 5 was major Flanderization of characters like Lincoln and Leanie Loud, and the plots in Seasons 1, 4, and 5 are the most nonsensical. However, the show did show some recovery in late Season 6 onwards after Leanie finally got her driver's license. Alright, let's hope that Season 8 and 9 will have no screw-ups. And don't get me started with that toxic fandom, because I already quieted it, and I'm never thinking about returning to this toxic fandom. Number 7, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. For starters, Star vs. the Forces of Evil was used to be picked up by Cartoon Network, but then it was rejected and Disney has greenlit it completely. So, what has ruined this show, you ask me? I've recently watched one video from Crimson Devil 768. The show started to focus more on romantic drama. The fantastical racism against monsters in Muni became the series' new main plot right after Toffee was killed off, and every episode had too many writers working on it, resulting in both old and new ideas being cut and mostly never used again as a result. Additionally, most of the characters have been Flanderized beyond recognition. Thanks a lot fans for ruining the show for everyone. Number 8, Angela Rules. Holy shit, how can this show was Flanderized, you ask me? To be honest, Angela Rules was one of amazing and awesome shows when I first saw it on Cartoon Network. The show has great characters and cool animation. Unfortunately, Season 4 and 5 has deteriorated sharply due to a huge lack of originality, completely unrealistic plots, and the Flanderization of many characters. Number 9, Teen Titans Go. My god, why did I like this show back then since I first watched it on Cartoon Network? And now I say this show is a biggest mess that this show turned out to be a cash grab of Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, and DC. Despite the entire show being universally hated from the beginning, even fans would agree that whatever respect they had for the show during Season 1 was immediately lost after that. The Titans' personalities became even more juvenile, idiotic and obnoxious than they were in the first season, and the deteriorating writing ended up causing many episode plots to become more bizarre, with often nonsensical and abrupt endings. While Season 1 is also controversial, it contains fewer controversial episodes than the infamous second season, which includes such widely hated episodes as Let's Get Serious, Serious Business, Truth, Justice and What? Boys vs. Girls and The Return of Slade. The latter of the five was particularly scorned for being both another jab at the show's critics and a shallow, transparent ratings stunt that shamelessly lied to fans of the 2003 to 2016 Titans show. Season 3 onwards divided fans, with more emphasis being put on the Titans' mean-spirited nature, overuse of pop culture references and predictable fourth wall breaks. Interesting episode plots being wasted for the sake of comedy, such as in Two-Parter, and the show in general becoming more self-aware, with the characters themselves breaking the fourth wall to directly mock the critics of the show, such as in The Fourth Wall and the 5-part Island Adventure special. So basically, Teen Titans Go was a biggest mistake that ruined the reputation of Warner Brothers Animation, at least Warner Brothers Animation, Cartoon Network Studios, and Hanna-Barbera Studios Europe is still focusing on new projects despite the catastrophic chaos from Warner Brothers Discovery. Number 10. El Chavo Aminado. Although I've never heard or watched any episode of the show, but the show felt more like a preschooler show rather than an animated adaptation. The animation declined in Season 6, more childish and fantasy-ish plot, even more so than in Season 2. Season 7 also didn't end the show any better. Number 11. Super Mario Logan. Now, I'll tell you that I think that the past Super Mario Logan episodes were successful since I recently watched it on YouTube, but now all good things in this show are end up bad. Since the introduction of Jeffy, more so after the infamous and controversial video Jeffy's Tantrum, the series has gone downhill. Also not helping matters is that much of Logan's channel was eventually age-restricted and demonetized. It got worse after the human puppets were introduced. After Logan has decided to stop using the plushies since Super Mario Logan received a lawsuit from Nintendo. So basically Super Mario Logan is ruined thanks to Jeffy and his stupid fans. Number 12. Thomas and Friends. The show went downhill when Britt Allcroft and David Mitton left. In seasons 12-16, the Sharon Miller era, the main characters were flanderized and the stories became too wacky. The show did improve in season 17-21, only to go downhill again in Big World Big Adventures era as Mattel began milking Thomas the Tank Engine for their benefit. It also ended the original series on a sour note, only for the controversial reboot to be released. However, the hit entertainment model era, seasons 9-11, is more tolerable. Number 13. Miraculous. Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. 3 seasons added lots of pointless characters such as Zoe Lee, despite being likable, Felix and Omui. The animation feels choppier and dull-looking, Season 3 being filled fan service only to make the fans, which slow a lot of the plot, ruined the lore of the first 2 seasons, characters being flanderized and some of them acting out of place for plot inconvenience. The sudden change in tone from a light-hearted superhero show to a slightly darker and edgier one, most notably in Season 5. The Season 5 finale also ended the series on a cliffhanger. So basically what this show looks like, considering cash cow of Disney Channel and Glue. Number 14. Johnny Test. To be honest, Season 1 of the show was just okay since Warner Brothers Animation first produced the show. But the things has gone downhill since Warner Brothers stopped doing the production of the show and gave it to Teletoon and Cookie Jar Entertainment. The animation became much stiffer, and, starting in Season 5, choppier looking, to the point of looking more suitable for the internet and TV. The sound effects became cheaper and the infamous whip crack sound effect was overused, and episodes mainly started becoming very repetitive, not to mention how a bunch of the characters were also exaggerated and flanderized. I used to like this show, but now I regret it. I'm glad this show was cancelled in Christmas 2014, and I'm glad that their Netflix revival was cancelled too. Number 15. Angry Birds Toons. Now basically, I liked the show since I first watched it on DVD, and even on YouTube, especially other Angry Birds series. But for this show, unfortunately since Season 3, the writing has gone downhill. Many characters have been flanderized and these seasons resulted in many bad episodes. They never went downhill in Seasons 1 and 2. Well, sometimes the shows that we know and love are going downhills and end up having mean-spirited episodes, poor writing, and flanderized characters. At least they can improve in later seasons, since the Loud House was improved in Season 6. So that concludes this talk. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, and the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time. Now, would you guys excuse me? I need to go focus on more gameplay videos of Disney Heroes Battle Mode, Angry Birds 2, or any other games. I'm gonna focus on my gameplay videos. For now, Arrivederci.